Inside your body right now, there's a process that finds disease cells, including cancer cells, and literally consumes them, almost like Pac-Man. This process breaks damaged cells down to the molecular level and then reuses those same building blocks to create healthier cellular components. It is one of the most powerful natural anti-cancer mechanisms known to science. In fact, the discovery of this process was recognized with a Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016. Dr. William explains that this remarkable process is called autophagy. Many people believe it only begins after several days of fasting or extreme dieting, but that simply isn't true. By the end of this video, Dr. William will reveal a discovery that changes what most people think they know about activating autophagy, and why the less obvious triggers are often even more powerful than the obvious ones when it comes to cancer prevention. The word autophagy literally means self-eating. Here's how it works. Inside every cell are tiny structures that function as internal quality control inspectors. When autophagy is activated, these structures move throughout the cell, searching for damaged proteins, worn-out energy-producing structures, and cells that have begun to grow abnormally. They surround this damaged material with a protective membrane, transport it to the cell's recycling center, and break it down into raw molecular components that can be reused to build healthy new structures. In the context of cancer, this process is enormously important because cancer does not suddenly appear out of nowhere. It begins with a series of small cellular mistakes that gradually push a healthy cell toward abnormal behavior. Autophagy is one of the body's primary defense systems for identifying these early problems and correcting them before they develop into something much more serious. In other words, autophagy is one of the body's most important natural mechanisms for preventing cancer from developing. However, there is one critical point that most people completely overlook. Autophagy does not operate at full capacity all the time. It is switched on by very specific biological signals, and modern lifestyles suppress many of those signals every single day without people even realizing it. So, how can we reactivate those signals and allow autophagy to quietly work in the background? According to Dr. William, the first non-obvious strategy is something known as protein cycling. Fasting activates autophagy because it lowers insulin levels and switches on an important cellular energy sensor called AMPK. But there is a second pathway that very few people ever discuss. Your cells constantly monitor protein availability through a signaling pathway known as mTOR. When mTOR detects abundant protein, it suppresses autophagy and sends cells the message to grow. Cancer cells take advantage of this growth signal more aggressively than almost any other type of cell. In fact, overactive mTOR signaling is one of the most frequently altered pathways found across human cancers. When mTOR senses that protein availability is low, it shifts the cell into recycling mode by activating autophagy to remove accumulated cellular debris. Research published in the journal Cell Metabolism found that periodic protein restriction activated autophagy just as powerfully as calorie restriction while independently suppressing mTOR activity across multiple tissues. The practical takeaway is surprisingly simple.